So we have all the evidence we need now. The end of the Neighbors from Hell saga. After writing you a very strongly worded letter not to, we let you know we had a lawyer. The police and animal control have been to your house several times. You even got my mom's number and texted her. That is weird. Even if you're a normal neighbor, don't get their mom's number. So we did what we were doing and then we got home. Guess who was in the yard just like screaming moronically to herself? It wasn't my wife. So we went over to Denise's house and we're like, Denise, we're calling the police. Understanding, she was like, what happened? We said when we left the house, she just started walking through our front yard back and forth, just like to assert dominance. I don't know. And Denise was like, yeah, she does that. Pardon? Apparently for the longest time, she just decided whenever we left the house to just start walking through our front yard. Because this lady was somehow convinced that this yard was hers. I have the deed. It's not. So we called the police. And her husband was not happy this time. You know, he's got guns and softball powers. And then the police officer showed up. So we're like, yeah, arrest her. They go over there. She's not there. They don't get home until like the next morning. I gotta go to work. But when we got home, she was being arrested with like the bracelets being put around her wrist.
By two police officers.
By two police officers. You only need like half a police officer to arrest her. She weighs like 23 pounds. But we're like, it's done. We won. Like before you like annihilated us by killing us with a sawed-off pickle, like you're arrested. And she went to jail. Like prison. That 70-pound Cheeto of a human stayed overnight in a prison. And then they let her go the next morning because it's, you know, it's trespassing. It's nothing crazy. But it is a little crazy when you have life threats against you on a, like, weekly basis. And so then the greatest thing happened. We had to go to court. The great part about that is she's not allowed to come in contact with us, and neither is he. And the court case was in 3 months. So for 3 months, she couldn't talk to us. So we made a decision. So the court case was in 3 months. And one of the reasons we hadn't even tried to sell the house yet was because we're like, she's going to purposely like ruin it. Like she'd be out in the front yard naked with rattlesnakes or something. Or Bob will be cleaning his weapons on the property line. Or screaming in the barn. So we go talk to Denise and we're like, Denise, we think we're going to sell the house. And she was sad, of course. And we were sad too because we would miss her. But with both of our jobs taking us a little farther south and we could take some money out of the property, now was like the best time. So we put the home on the market. And within about a week it sold because I was our realtor. And we were on our way to closing, and it was kind of odd. Like, things were nice. Like, all the things that had led us to even wanting to sell were, like, not happening. So it got kind of anticlimactic, but here soon we had a court date. And I'd been getting calls from the police officer just kind of giving me updates. And so with all the offenses that we caught on video and pictures when looking all the way back through our security footage and all the things that happened with the police otherwise and animal control and all this stuff, police officer told me there's a lot that could happen. We even filed for a restraining order against him a year back. Like, we tried. So we're about 2 weeks away from the home selling and the court date's coming up. And with everything that had happened and the whole rap sheet we had pretty much built up on her of evidence, she was actually going to face jail time. Like, jail time. Like, prison. A 70-year-old woman was going to go to jail because she couldn't leave 2 young kids alone. What a life. Are you done?
No.
And so the court date's coming up and my wife and I are like, what are we going to do? Like, are we going to get a lawyer? Are we going to take time off work to, you know, make this happen? Like, what more evidence can we bring to the table? How do we present it? How does court work? Is it like Law and Order SVU? Yeah, do they go dun-dun before the start of anything? These are things we did not know. And so the day came. And they had held true to their no contact order. We were 2 days away from closing on our home. And that's when she broke her no contact order. She trespassed again. But this time, she left a plant on our porch. The very same plant she left us as a wedding gift 3 years ago. So I go over to Denise's house. I'm like, Denise, this woman came onto our property again with a no contact order in place. I'm about to call the police, but I don't think I should. She's like, why don't you think you should? I said, because she left us a plant. That would look really crazy if I called the police because they gave us something. She's like, okay. Well, why do you think she may have left you a plant? I don't know, because she knows we're leaving maybe. Like, why be nice when we're about to leave after this whole 3.5-year saga of insanity? Like, it's been crazy, and you know you can't come on our property because we told you not to, and here you are giving us a freaking ficus. And that's when Denise said something that would remain with me for the rest of my life. And Denise looked at me and said, Zach, April's insane. That was deep. But it's true, you can't add logic to insanity. It just makes it seem more insane. This woman was insane. But everything they've done to this point was done with a plan. So I thought about it. And I realized this movie-like time frame in our lives was ending in a very cinematic fashion. She gave us a plant because in her brain, if we thanked her for that plant, that was us forgiving her for everything. Because the whole reason any of this started was because when my wife and I got married and moved in, a plant was left on our porch anonymously with no note, and we didn't thank her for it because we didn't know it was her. And 3.5 years later, after all this insanity, if we thank her for putting that plant on our porch right before we leave and right before the court hearing, that in her eyes and her mind is us forgiving her for everything she had done. Crazy people be crazy though. So now I had a choice to make. So if we said thank you for this plant, basically everything was okay in her mind. So you think I thanked her for that plant? I sure didn't. But the court case was today. And we were about to put this 70-year-old woman in prison for probably 6 to 8 months. So we didn't go. They put us through hell for 3.5 years. And guys, I couldn't even give every single detail for everything that happened over that 3.5 years. For example, I didn't even mention when Georgia was born, and they berated us as we walked in with our newborn baby. When holes were poked on our vinyl fence. When they claimed someone shot the house. When she called the Wildlife Foundation because we cut down a dead tree. A piece of ham was left on our front porch. That might not have been her, but that's weird. But was all of that gonna disappear knowing that she was in prison? Was it worth spending money on a lawyer or time in a courtroom? No. So we packed up our house, we took one last look, and we left. The berating of our dogs, not being able to have a bonfire or a barbecue, being threatened by a professional softball player, having the fence ripped out and then a homeless man that lives in our ditch being blamed, or screaming nonsensical obscenities while drinking Jack from a barn. Her going to prison wouldn't take back any of that. But, there was one thing I could do. So that she would always remember that she lost. That all the things she did not amount to a win for her. And I used the power that I knew best from my 8 years as an IT tech specialist within the Army. I took an entire day and I got her signed up for as many spam phone call lists as I could find. Then I found her email and did the same thing. And all those phone and email lists are re-upped once every 2 months. And under all those applications, I told them her name was Zach. So now anytime this woman got an email, anytime this woman got a phone call, anytime the signal was strong enough, she would get a call, a text, or an email that goes, "Hi, Zach. We saw you were interested online about our detoxifying foot cream." And emails from Nigerian princes all over the world. Because a prison sentence was not guaranteed, and nor is that forever. But having your phone number and email given to as many call lists and newsletters as possible that will spam you for the eternity of time under the name of which the neighbor you despise because he would not thank you for a plant that you gave anonymously, oh, that's forever. And that's it!
You know what else we forgot?
What else did we forget?
You know how she hid drugs around her house to hide them from Bob? You remember that?
I forgot about the drugs! I was almost done! Now I gotta go and do another part about the drugs.